Ladies and gentlemen, you know, there comes a moment when you're minding your business, doing your thing, and out of nowhere someone points a finger. You're the problem, suddenly all eyes are on you like you're some sort of villain. It's like a spotlight you didn't ask for, but here it is anyway. And let me tell you, that spotlight can feel heavy. But here's what you need to understand: being called the problem isn't always about you. Sometimes it's about people seeing something in you that challenges their comfort zone, their expectations, or their authority. They don't know what to do with that fire in you, so they try to label it, box it up, shut it down. They call you the problem. Facing criticism head-on is one of life's toughest lessons, especially when that criticism carries the heavy, loaded label of being the problem. You're standing there, living your life, minding your business, when someone, maybe a colleague, a family member, or even society itself, points a finger and says, "You're what's wrong here." That accusation can hit you like a punch to the gut, knocking the wind out of you, leaving you to question yourself. But here's the truth: it takes a special kind of strength to face that kind of judgment without letting it unravel who you are. It takes grit, resilience, and a commitment to your own truth. Because here's the thing: being called the problem is often about more than you. It's about what you represent, about the unique qualities and perspectives you bring to the table that don't sit comfortably with others. When you're labeled as the problem, understand that it often has little to do with you personally. Sometimes it's simply about how you challenge the status quo, how your presence disrupts someone's neatly arranged ideas of what should be. People feel threatened by what they don't understand, and instead of taking a closer look, they often reach for labels. Problem, they say, and just like that, you become the scapegoat. It's a defensive mechanism, a way to deflect from their own insecurities or inability to deal with something new and different. They'd rather point fingers than ask questions, because questioning would mean opening up to change, and change for many is uncomfortable, even terrifying. But here's where your strength comes in. When you face that criticism, you have a choice. You can let it shrink you, make you question your own worth, or you can choose to see it for what it is: a mirror reflecting back someone else's fears, someone else's limitations. By standing tall in the face of that label, by not bowing to it, you take back your power. You refuse to let anyone else define you, refuse to let anyone dim your light just because it shines a little too brightly for them. This isn't easy. Every instinct might tell you to shrink back, to become smaller, to blend in. But greatness doesn't blend in, it stands out, and standing out will always attract scrutiny. That's just the nature of things. Remember, nobody criticizes what isn't worth noticing. The reality is, every great leader, every innovator, every person who has ever done something meaningful has been called a problem at one point or another. Look through history, and you'll see it. Those who dared to think differently, who refused to go along with the crowd, they all faced the same judgment. You're the problem, they were told. And in every one of those instances, it was because they saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. They weren't willing to settle for ordinary, and that made people uncomfortable. It challenged the systems and mindsets that everyone else had grown so comfortable with. So when you're called a problem, remember that you're in good company. Embracing this criticism requires a shift in perspective. It's about seeing past the negativity, recognizing that criticism often comes from a place of fear, ignorance, or insecurity. And in those moments, you have to become the anchor in the storm. You have to dig deep. Remember why you're here, why you're doing what you're doing, and ground yourself in that truth. Because if you're not careful, the world will try to convince you that being different is something to be ashamed of, that standing out is wrong. But the truth is, those differences, those problematic qualities, they're often the very things that set you apart, that make you capable of doing something nobody else can. Facing criticism head-on isn't about ignoring what others say or pretending that it doesn't hurt. It does hurt. But it's about deciding that you're going to hold on to yourself, your dreams, your vision, regardless of what others think. It's about knowing that the discomfort you feel is temporary, but the impact you're here to make is permanent. Yes, it's a battle, and sometimes it's a lonely one, but it's worth fighting. Because the alternative is to let the world define you, to let others dictate the boundaries of your life, your dreams, your potential. And that's too high a price to pay. So when they call you the problem, when they put that label on you, let it roll off your shoulders. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that criticism often comes to those who are going somewhere, who are on a path that others can't see. Be proud of the fact that you're not easy to pin down, that you don't fit neatly into anyone's box. Keep going, keep pushing, stand tall in who you are and let the world adjust. Because the truth is, if they're calling you the problem, it's probably because you're bringing something new, something needed, and they just don't know it yet. Breaking free from limits placed on you by others is one of the most powerful steps you can take on your journey. Whether it's family, friends, society, or even your own mind, there will always be people and beliefs that try to tell you what you can or cannot achieve. These limits come in many forms: a comment about your abilities, doubts about your dreams, judgments about your character. It's easy to absorb these voices, to start seeing yourself through their lenses. But to truly live, to rise into your full potential, you have to break free from the confines of those external expectations. You have to step out of the box that others try to place you in. Imagine this: you're walking down a path and suddenly you're surrounded by walls. At first they're low enough that you barely notice them. They might even seem like natural parts of the landscape, but as you keep moving, those walls get higher. The people around you might say things like, "Stay safe, don't rock the boat," or "Why aim so high?" Every one of these comments adds another brick to those walls. After a while, those walls get so high that you start to feel trapped. You may begin to believe that you belong within these walls, that the limits others have placed on you are the boundaries of your world. But the truth is, those limits aren't real. They're illusions built from fear, from tradition, from other people's insecurities. One of the greatest things you can do for yourself is to see these limits for what they are. Often they're projections of other people's fears, their own struggles, or maybe even the dreams they once had but gave up on. When they see you daring to go beyond what they believe is possible, it stirs something in them. Maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's regret, maybe it's just plain fear. But whatever it is, it has nothing to do with you. And that's the first step in breaking free, understanding that these limits say more about others than they do about you. They don't define who you are, they only define what others think you should be. When you accept someone else's limits, you start living their version of your life, not your own. You may play it safe, choose the sensible path, keep your ambitions small. You might convince yourself that you're being practical, that you're just following the rules, but deep down there's a voice telling you that this isn't where you're meant to be. And ignoring that voice, suppressing that hunger for something greater, that's a slow, quiet kind of heartbreak. Because no matter how well you live within those limits, you know it's not truly living. It's merely existing within the bounds that others have set. Breaking free is a bold act. It's not comfortable, and it's certainly not without challenges. The people who set those limits on you, they're not going to be happy when you start pushing back. You might even lose a few relationships along the way. But here's the thing: true freedom often comes with a price, and that price is the discomfort of others. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with the choices you make. You're the one who has to wake up every morning and look yourself in the mirror. So why not make choices that reflect who you truly are, instead of who others want you to be? When you start breaking free, you open up a world of possibilities. Suddenly, you're no longer confined to the small box of realistic goals or acceptable dreams. You give yourself permission to explore, to dream big, to reach for things that others may see as impossible. And here's the beautiful thing: when you step beyond those limits, you inspire others to do the same. They may have placed those limits on you at first, but when they see you breaking free, something shifts. They start to question the walls they built around themselves. They see that maybe, just maybe, the limits they thought were real were only in their minds. Breaking free doesn't mean you have to do it all at once. It's not about tearing down every wall in a single day. It's about taking one step, then another. It's about allowing yourself to believe that there's more out there for you, that your potential is vast and untapped. It's about refusing to settle, about pushing just a little further each day, about growing into the person you were meant to be. And every time you step outside those limits, even if it's just a little, you get stronger. You get closer to the life you deserve. When people tell you to stay in your lane, to stick to what you know, or to play it safe, remember this: the only limits that matter are the ones you set for yourself. Every single day you have a choice. You can accept the walls that others build around you, or you can climb over them. You can let someone else's small vision of life become your reality, or you can step into your own vision, no matter how grand it may seem. You were not put here to live in a box. You were not made to be small, to play it safe, or to fit neatly into someone else's idea of who you should be. You were made to break free, to grow, to expand, and to reach heights that others may never even imagine. Because at the end of the day, breaking free isn't just about what you achieve or where you go, it's about who you become. It's about standing tall in your own skin, proud of the journey you've taken and the person you've become. So break free. Step beyond the limits. Embrace the boundless potential that lies within you, and show the world that no limit is strong enough to hold you back. Reclaiming your identity in a world that constantly tries to define you is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect and resilience you can ever undertake. From the moment you're born, society, family, and even friends start attaching labels to you, shaping expectations around who you are supposed to be. They tell you what's acceptable, what's possible, and what's out of reach. And if you aren't careful, you start absorbing those labels. You start living out a version of yourself that fits their expectations, not your own truth. But deep down, you feel a sense of disconnection, a restlessness, because you know, whether you're fully conscious of it or not, that you are living in the shadow of others' definitions. To truly reclaim your identity, you have to step out of that shadow and take ownership of who you are, regardless of who others think you should be. This process begins with the decision to look past the labels and seek out the truth of who you are beneath them. It's easy to get caught up in the names people give you: rebel, outsider, problem, or even golden child or success story. Labels don't just limit, they confine and sometimes even imprison. You might feel the weight of trying to live up to positive labels just as much as the burden of disproving negative ones. Either way, you're tethered to an image that may or may not align with who you truly are. Reclaiming your identity is about cutting those ties, releasing yourself from the expectations of others, and daring to embrace the complexity of your own story. The thing is, this isn't a simple process. It requires a level of introspection and courage that not everyone is willing to face. When you choose to reclaim your identity, you're setting out on a journey that demands honesty, vulnerability, and strength. You're confronting not only what others have said about you, but also what you may have come to believe about yourself. You'll have to strip away layers of conditioning, challenge beliefs you've carried since childhood, and face the parts of yourself you may have hidden or forgotten. It's an act of excavation, of digging deep into your core and discovering who you are when all the noise, all the labels, all the expectations fall away. People around you might not understand this process, and that's okay. When you start to redefine yourself, you may even lose some relationships along the way. There will be those who don't want you to change because they've grown comfortable with the version of you they know. They might feel threatened, confused, or even betrayed because in reclaiming your identity, you are challenging the version of reality they have built around you. They may say things like, "You've changed," or "This isn't who you used to be." And you may feel tempted to revert to the familiar role you once played to keep the peace. But remember, if you lose yourself to satisfy others, you lose everything. Reclaiming your identity means valuing yourself enough to prioritize your truth over their comfort. This journey isn't about discarding everything others have given you. It's about discerning what truly resonates with your spirit. You get to decide what parts of yourself to keep and what to let go of. You're not turning your back on the world. You're simply choosing to engage with it from a place of authenticity. And when you do this, a remarkable thing happens. You start to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that genuinely align with who you are. The energy you radiate shifts, and suddenly you're no longer attracting situations that feel like compromises or obligations. Instead, you're drawing in things that nourish your spirit and align with your deepest values. Reclaiming your identity is also about realizing that you have the power to define your own success, happiness, and purpose. Society has all kinds of standards, benchmarks, and timelines that it tries to impose on you. By a certain age, you're expected to have achieved certain things, to check off boxes that others have set for you. But if those standards don't align with your vision, they mean nothing. Success one size fits all, and happiness doesn't come from following someone else's roadmap. It comes from understanding your values, your passions, your dreams, and allowing those things to guide your choices. When you reclaim your identity, you reclaim your freedom to create a life on your terms, not one that's prescripted by others. This journey requires resilience because, let's face it, society doesn't always encourage individuality. It often rewards conformity and punishes those who step out of line. But true courage is about daring to be yourself, even when it's easier to blend in. Reclaiming your identity is about standing tall in your uniqueness, embracing the quirks, flaws, and qualities that make you who you are. It's about giving yourself permission to evolve, to change, to grow without having to explain yourself to anyone. Because this life is yours, and you are the only one who will live every moment of it. You owe it to yourself to live as fully and authentically as possible. When you reclaim your identity, you become unshakable. The opinions, judgments, and labels others try to place on you no longer hold the same power. You're rooted in a truth that comes from within, and that truth gives you a strength that can't be taken away. You're no longer swayed by fleeting trends or external pressures. You found a place within yourself that's solid, unbreakable. And from this place, you can build a life that reflects the real you, a life that no matter what anyone says, feels right, feels whole. So take the journey, have the courage, and reclaim your identity. Stand tall in who you are, unapologetically. Because there's power in knowing yourself and living as your true self and claiming a life that's uniquely yours. And when you do that, you're not just reclaiming your identity, you're reclaiming your freedom, your happiness, and your purpose. You're stepping into a life that no one can define but you. Transforming adversity into strength is one of the most defining skills you can develop. Life will throw challenges, setbacks, and criticisms your way. It's inevitable. Some days will feel like a test of your endurance, and others will make you question your purpose. But what if, instead of seeing adversity as something to avoid, you learn to see it as fuel? What if every criticism, every rejection, and every failure became a building block for your resilience, a tool for your growth? Adversity has the power to break you down, yes, but it also has the potential to build you up in ways nothing else can. It has a way of carving out strength, shaping your character, and revealing the depth of your resilience. When you face adversity, the first reaction is often to resist it, to fight against the pain, or to wish it away. But true growth begins when you stop fighting and start leaning in. Think about the pressure it takes to form a diamond. Diamonds aren't created in comfortable, easy conditions. They're formed through intense heat, crushing weight, and relentless pressure. That same principle applies to us. Adversity is not there to destroy you, it's there to refine you, to show you the strength you never knew you had. When you embrace this perspective, you stop seeing challenges as roadblocks and start seeing them as opportunities to build character, to cultivate resilience, and to refine your purpose. In the face of adversity, it's easy to feel discouraged, to let setbacks shake your confidence and make you doubt your abilities. Criticism in particular can sting deeply, especially when it comes from people you respect or care about. But the key to transforming adversity into strength is to learn from it without letting it define you. Criticism doesn't have to be a wall that stops you, it can be a stepping stone. A moment to reflect and assess, to ask yourself if there's any truth in it that you can use to improve. When someone tells you that you're not good enough, that your dreams are too big, or that you don't have what it takes, you can either accept that narrative or use it as fuel to push harder, to work smarter, and to prove to yourself what you're truly capable of. Turning adversity into strength also means developing the patience to endure seasons of struggle without giving up. There will be times when nothing seems to go right, when every step forward feels like a battle. It's in these moments that many people choose to quit, to settle, to take the easier path. But those who learn to persevere, to keep moving forward, even when the road is rough, discover strength within themselves that they never knew existed. Adversity has a way of stripping away all the unnecessary layers, leaving you with nothing but your core. And in those moments, you find out what you're really made of. You learn that you can survive disappointment, that you can withstand failure, that you can rise from the ashes of what once seemed like defeat. Every time you face adversity and refuse to let it break you, you build a mental and emotional toughness that becomes part of your foundation. It's like building muscle. Just as your muscles grow stronger with each repetition, each weight lifted, your resilience grows with each challenge you face and overcome. The process isn't always pretty, and it certainly isn't easy. But each hardship, each setback, each criticism adds a layer to your strength. Eventually, you find that what once would have shaken you to the core no longer has the same power. You've grown beyond it, built a fortitude that shields you from the small stuff and gives you the courage to face bigger challenges with confidence. Learning to use adversity as fuel also means allowing it to sharpen your focus. In tough times, distractions fall away and you are forced to zero in on what truly matters to you. You begin to clarify your values, your goals, and your purpose. Adversity strips away the superficial, leaving you with a clear sense of what you're fighting for and why. You stop worrying about opinions that don't serve you, about failures that are just stepping stones, and start concentrating on the mission that fuels your spirit. This focus, born from adversity, becomes a guiding light that pushes you forward no matter how tough the journey becomes. An undeniable power in turning your struggles into strength, because it puts the control back in your hands. When you're no longer afraid of adversity, when you stop seeing it as an enemy and start viewing it as a teacher, you take away its power to intimidate you. You begin to realize that every challenge you face is a chance to grow stronger, to develop skills, to sharpen your character. Adversity stops being something to dread and becomes something to embrace as part of your journey. You're no longer running from difficulties. Instead, you're facing them head on, knowing that every challenge conquered is another step toward becoming the person you were meant to be. In the end, transforming adversity into strength isn't just about surviving hardships, it's about thriving because of them. It's about developing a resilience that can withstand the storms of life, a confidence that is unshakable, and a purpose that cannot be derailed by temporary setbacks. This kind of strength doesn't come from comfort or ease, it comes from enduring, from persevering, from rising above. It's the kind of strength that makes you a force to be reckoned with, a person who can walk through fire and come out on the other side even stronger. Let adversity fuel you. Let criticism sharpen you. Let every challenge, every setback, every obstacle be a stepping stone on your path to greatness. Because when you learn to transform adversity into strength, you become unstoppable. You're no longer held back by fear or limited by doubt. You're empowered, resilient, and ready to take on whatever life throws your way. And when you look back, you'll see that every struggle, every hardship, every moment of doubt was worth it. It was all part of the journey that made you who you are, a person of true strength, depth, and resilience. Turning criticism into growth is a skill that takes time, patience, and a strong mindset, but once mastered, it can transform your life. When someone criticizes you, it can feel like an attack, a blow to your confidence, or even a personal rejection. It's natural to feel defensive, to want to dismiss the criticism, or to question why someone would say such a thing. But what if you could change your perspective? What if you could view criticism not as an obstacle, but as a tool for growth, a stepping stone toward your best self? The first step in turning criticism into growth is understanding that criticism is part of any journey toward success. No matter how talented, hardworking, or well-intentioned you are, there will always be people who don't see things the way you do. Some may misunderstand you, others may have their own agendas, and some may simply have a different perspective. Criticism, whether it's delivered constructively or with harsh intent, holds a mirror up to you, challenging you to reflect on your actions, your choices, and your beliefs. When you embrace this perspective, you start to see criticism not as a roadblock, but as an opportunity to gain insight and refine your approach. One of the most powerful ways to use criticism for growth is to approach it with curiosity rather than defensiveness. When someone critiques your work or questions your decisions, pause before reacting. Take a breath and ask yourself, is there something valuable here? This doesn't mean you have to accept every bit of feedback as truth, but it does mean that you're willing to consider it. Often, when we look past the initial sting of criticism, we can find a nugget of wisdom hidden within it. By listening with an open mind, you might discover areas for improvement that you hadn't seen before. This approach not only strengthens your skills, but it also shows a willingness to learn a quality that's essential for personal growth. Not all criticism is helpful, and it's important to learn how to discern between constructive feedback and negative, unproductive comments. Constructive criticism comes from a place of wanting to see you improve. It's specific, actionable, and often delivered with respect. On the other hand, destructive criticism is vague, often intended to discourage or tear down rather than build up. When you encounter this kind of criticism, it's crucial to protect your mindset. Remind yourself that not all feedback is worth internalizing. If a comment doesn't offer a clear path for improvement or comes from a place of negativity, let it go. Don't allow it to undermine your confidence or cloud your vision. But even when criticism feels harsh or unjust, there's still value to be gained if you look closely. Criticism can reveal your blind spots, areas where you may have overestimated your abilities or misunderstood the needs of others. Sometimes it points out weaknesses that you may not want to acknowledge. It's natural to resist these insights, but growth requires honesty. When you confront your blind spots and address your weaknesses head-on, you strengthen yourself from the inside out. You gain a clearer picture of who you are, where you excel, and where you need to put in more work. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Facing your weaknesses doesn't make you weaker, it makes you stronger, more self-aware, and more prepared for the future. Turning criticism into growth also requires self-compassion. No one is perfect, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. When you receive criticism, avoid falling into a cycle of self-blame or discouragement. Instead, treat yourself with kindness. Acknowledge that you're a work in progress, just like everyone else. Criticism doesn't define you, it's simply feedback. By viewing it as a learning experience rather than a judgment of your worth, you give yourself the freedom to grow without the burden of perfectionism. This mindset shift is crucial because it allows you to take risks, to step outside your comfort zone, and to see criticism as part of your journey rather than as a sign of failure. Another important aspect of using criticism for growth is recognizing that it can build resilience. Each time you face criticism and choose to learn from it, you're strengthening your ability to handle adversity. You're building a mental toughness that will serve you well in every area of life. Over time, you become less reactive and more thoughtful, able to process feedback without letting it shake your confidence. This resilience not only helps you grow, but also sets you apart as someone who can handle challenges with grace. When you can take criticism in stride, people respect you. They see you as someone who's grounded, who values growth over ego, and who's willing to do the work to improve. Criticism, when used correctly, can also fuel your motivation. There's a unique drive that comes from wanting to prove yourself, not necessarily to others, but to yourself. Each critique can become a reminder of your potential, a call to action to become better. Rather than viewing criticism as something to avoid, see it as an opportunity to refine your skills, to push past your limits, and to keep raising the bar. When you adopt this mindset, criticism stops being something to fear and becomes a catalyst for greatness. Turning criticism into growth is about taking ownership of your journey. It's about realizing that no one else defines your success, your path, or your potential. Others may have opinions, and some may even want to see you fail, but their words don't determine your destiny. You are the one in control, and you have the power to use every bit of feedback as fuel to keep moving forward. Criticism is just one voice among many, and it's up to you to decide how much weight it holds. When you choose to let it empower rather than diminish you, you become unstoppable. So the next time someone criticizes you, remember it's not about them, it's about you. It's about your journey, your growth, and your commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. Stand tall, take what's useful, and leave the rest behind. Use every critique as a stepping stone, every doubt as a motivator, and every challenge as proof of your strength. In the end, turning criticism into growth isn't just a skill, it's a mindset, a way of living that transforms every setback into a setup for something greater. Believing in yourself when others don't is a quiet, unbreakable strength. It's easy to stand strong when everyone is cheering you on, when the world seems to be in your corner. But what about those times when you're on your own, when the voices around you are full of doubt, when people say you're chasing a dream that's too big, too unrealistic, or simply not for you? That's when self-belief becomes essential. That's when you discover what you're really made of, because believing in yourself in the face of doubt is what separates those who succeed from those who give up. When others don't believe in you, it can be a harsh, isolating feeling. You might feel misunderstood, underestimated, even dismissed. It's natural to want the approval of others, to hope for a nod of encouragement or a word of support. But sometimes life doesn't give you that. Sometimes the people around you may not understand your vision, your dreams, or your potential. They might think they're protecting you by urging caution, or they may simply lack the imagination to see the possibilities that you see. This is where self-belief comes in as your foundation, as your guiding light that keeps you moving forward, even when the path is unclear and the support is lacking. Self-belief is not arrogance, it's an inner confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you're capable of, even if the world hasn't seen it yet. It's a commitment to yourself and to the vision that drives you. To cultivate this belief, you have to get to know yourself deeply. You have to understand your strengths, your passions, and your purpose. Self-belief is not based on empty affirmations or superficial confidence. It's grounded in a real understanding of who you are and what you want to accomplish. This knowledge fuels you, giving you the courage to keep going, to put in the work, and to stay true to yourself even when others are skeptical. When people doubt you, it's easy to feel discouraged. Their words, their looks, their lack of support can weigh on you, planting seeds of doubt in your mind. But remember this, other people's doubts don't define you. They reflect their limitations, not yours. When someone says you can't do it, they're speaking from their own fears, their own insecurities, and their own experiences. They're projecting their own limitations onto you. But just because they can't see your potential doesn't mean it's not there. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to stay focused on your own path, to believe in yourself with such conviction that their doubts fade into the background. Believing in yourself is a powerful tool, but it's also a skill that must be nurtured, especially when faced with negativity. Start by focusing on small, achievable goals that build your confidence over time. Every small victory, every bit of progress is proof that you're moving in the right direction. Celebrate these moments, no matter how small they may seem, because they're evidence of your growth. Each step forward strengthens your belief in yourself, showing you that you have the ability to make things happen. As you achieve these small wins, your confidence builds, and you become less dependent on external validation. You start to trust yourself, to rely on your own inner voice rather than the opinions of others. In moments of doubt, remind yourself of your why. Why did you start this journey? What is it that you're working toward? when you're connected to a purpose that's bigger than any one person's opinion, it's easier to stay grounded. That purpose becomes your anchor, reminding you that your dreams are valid, that your goals are worth pursuing, and that you have the power to make them a reality. When you hold on to your purpose, you're able to push through criticism, setbacks, and doubt with resilience. Your purpose fuels your self-belief, keeping you focused on what truly matters rather than getting lost in the noise of other people's doubts. Another key to maintaining self-belief when others don't believe in you is to find sources of inspiration and support that lift you up. Surround yourself with stories of people who have overcome similar challenges, who have faced doubt and come out stronger. Whether it's through books, videos, or mentors, seek out examples of resilience and success in the face of adversity. These stories remind you that you're not alone in this struggle and that countless others have walked similar paths. They faced doubters, they faced obstacles, and they still succeeded. Their journeys serve as proof that belief in oneself is a powerful force, capable of overcoming even the most stubborn obstacles. Self-belief also involves embracing failure as part of the journey. When others doubt you, they're often quick to point out every mistake, every misstep as proof that you're on the wrong path. But setbacks are not signs of failure, they're signs of growth. Each challenge you face is an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to improve. Every time you fall and get back up, you're reinforcing your belief in yourself. You're proving that you have what it takes to keep going, that you won't be stopped by a single failure or even 100 failures. This resilience becomes a part of your self-belief, a reminder that you're capable of overcoming whatever comes your way. At the end of the day, believing in yourself when others don't is a commitment to your own growth and potential. It's a promise you make to yourself to keep going, to keep striving, to keep building a life that's true to who you are. You don't need others to believe in you to make your dreams a reality. All you need is the conviction in your own heart. When you have that, you become unstoppable. Doubt from others becomes background noise, criticism becomes a tool for improvement, and every challenge becomes a stepping stone on the path to success. So hold on to that belief. Let it be the fire that keeps you moving forward, the shield that protects you from negativity, and the anchor that grounds you in moments of uncertainty. Remember that your journey is yours alone, and it's up to you to see it through. The world may not always believe in you, but as long as you believe in yourself, you have everything you need to succeed. Trust that, embrace that, and let your self-belief carry you all the way to your dreams.